Ülkedeki ifade özgürlüğü ihlalleri ne bayram ne de tatil dinliyor. 9 günlük bayram tatili bitti. Ardından bir haftayı daha ardımızda bıraktık. Ancak davalar, yasaklar bayramda da sonrasında da hız kesmedi. İşte buyurun bizim eleğimizin üstünde kalanlar.
Another lawsuit has been filed against Emine Şanyerşah, whose husband and two sons were murdered by the bodyguards and relatives of the Justice and Development Party parliament member Ibrahim Halil Yıldız, and who have been demanding justice in front of the Urfa courthouse since March 9, 2021. Şanyerşah is accused of insulting the state in accordance with Article 301 of the Turkish Penal Code due to her speech in front of the Urfa courthouse on April 1, 2021, within the scope of the file, 5 of which were filed during the Justice Watch, which she continued for more than 500 days.
The Grand Chamber of the European Court of Human Rights announced its final decree on the Osman Kavala case within the scope of the violation procedure initiated by the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe after the Turkish court's failure to implement the violation decree in 2019. The Grand Chamber of the European Court of Human Rights ruled that Turkey did not fulfill its obligations and violated Article 46 of the European Convention on Human Rights. While the decisions were taken with 16 votes against 1, the only dissenting vote came from the Turkish judge of the court. After the decree, the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe will discuss what kind of sanctions it will take against Turkey. Sanction possibilities include removing Turkey from the Council or suspending its right to vote.
Another lawsuit was filed against İleri Haber's former editor-in-chief Doğan Ergün and current editor-in-chief İzel Sezer, who was also the responsible manager of the time, due to a news article published on the website regarding the lawsuit filed against them on another news article regarding former lawyer of President Erdogan, Mustafa Doğan İnal, and the bribery allegations against them. The first hearing of the lawsuit will be held on December 27th at the Istanbul 25th Criminal Court of First Instance. In the case, Sezer and the current managing editor Batuhan Batan will stand trial on the charge of insult.
Mardin Chief Public Prosecutor's Office launched an investigation against Jin News reporter Öznur Değer with the allegation of making propaganda for a terrorist organization. In the photos that the journalists took at the Democratic Regions Party's Congress held in Ankara on February 27 and the Nevra celebrations in Van's Erciş district, which she shared on her social media account, yellow, red, green colors were considered criminal elements.
The Independent Communication Network has published the April, May, June 2022 Media Monitoring Report. According to the report, at least 17 journalists, 16 of whom were in Diyarbakir, were arrested in a 3-month period. In the same period, at least 17 journalists and media representatives were detained. 9 of the detained journalists lost their freedom while reporting on social protests. At least 19 media representatives were attacked and 12 of them were targeted by the security forces. At least 102 journalists and media workers stood trial. 3 of them were sentenced to 1 year, 6 months, 22 days in prison and a judicial fine of 25,000 Turkish liras on the charge of making propaganda for a terrorist organization. At least 13 journalists and cartoonists were accused of insulting the president, and at least 21 journalists were prosecuted on the charge of insulting. Deutsche Welle and Voice of America news websites were banned. Access to at least 45 online news and journalistic content that raised or criticized allegations of corruption, bribery, and favoritism were also blocked. The Radio and Television Supreme Council fined TV channels 37 times, totaling 1,430,085 Turkish liras for broadcasting news and programs in the 3-month period.
The Diyarbakir Chief Public Prosecutor's Office launched an investigation against the Diyarbakir Bar Association due to their statements regarding the attack in the Zaho district of Dahok province of the Iraqi Kurdistan. In the post shared on the social media account of the Diyarbakir Bar Association, it was stated, with a bombardment of Turkish armed forces in the Zaho district of Kurdistan Federal Region, civilians, including children, lost their lives. As in Roboski, the humanitarian law becomes worthless when it comes to Kurds. We offer our condolences. The Diyarbakir Bar Association will make the necessary criminal complaints to identify and penalize those responsible for these attacks that cost the lives of civilians and will follow an effective legal process.
The police intervened in the commemoration marches held in Istanbul, Izmir and Ankara on the 7th anniversary of the Suruç massacre. The Istanbul Governorate announced that 106 people were detained during the commemoration. In the press statement held in front of the Izmir Alsancak Türkan Saylan Cultural Center, 19 people and at least 20 people at the commemoration in Ankara were beaten and detained.
The Tunceli Governorate banned the activities in Munzur Culture and Nature Festival, which has not been held for the last 2 years due to the pandemic and was going to be held for the 20th time this year. Concerts of music bands Grup Yorum and Grup İsyan Ateşi, as well as marches to be made within the scope of the festival, which was organized between July 21st and 24th, was banned by the governorate due to not having been considered appropriate. The request of the festival organizing committee to open the dormitories to guests and to use the stadium for concerts was denied 3 days before the festival. Members of music bands Grup İsyan Ateşi and Grup Yorum were not allowed to enter the city. The organizing committee stated that the governorate has turned the city into an area of state of emergency and the festival cannot be held under these conditions, and announced that the Munzur Culture and Nature Festival has been cancelled.
The gendarmerie attacked the subcontracted cleaning workers and university students supporting the workers at Koç University, who started a resistance in front of the campus to protest their exile after starting a petition for the payment of holiday bonuses. 20 people were detained.
The police intervened once again in the Justice Watch held every week in front of the Istanbul Çağlayan Courthouse in order to draw attention to the problems experienced in prisons by the relatives of the prisoners. At least 8 people were detained. In the previous week, which was the week of the 8th, the Justice Watch protest was intervened again on the grounds of the ban decree issued by Kağıthane District Governorate, and 6 people have been detained.
The concert of musician Apolas Lermi within the Ağaçbaşı Otçu Festival held in the Güce district of Giresun has been banned by the governorate. The concert that the artist was going to give in Sakarya was also cancelled by the municipality on the grounds of racist news in the press.
All kinds of protests and events, such as demonstrations, marches, concerts, theater performances, announcements, and leaflet distributions throughout the city, were banned by Hakkari Governorate for 15 days until August 1. And the reason is always the same: the protection of the indivisibility of the state, national security and public order, prevention of the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The Mardin Governorate announced that all kinds of protests and events such as open-air and closed meetings, marches, press releases, protest demonstrations, announcements and leaflets were banned throughout the province, as well as those who come to participate in these events were prohibited from entering the province for 17 days as of July 18, 2022. Thus, the protest and demonstration ban, which has been ongoing uninterruptedly in Mardin since October 17, 2019, has reached 1,019 days.
The Van Governorate issued another ban against the protests and demonstrations, which was declared for the first time during the state of emergency and has been ongoing since 2016. The Governorate announced that the immediate surroundings of the buildings of public institutions and organizations in some parks and streets were determined as places where press statements cannot be made, and made it mandatory to declare all press statements, protests, leaflet distributions, petitions to the civil administration at least 24 hours in advance. The governorate also announced that the provisions regarding the restrictions taken in the past, apart from this decision regarding press statements, continue to remain in effect.
Diyarbakır Fifth Criminal Court of Peace imposed an access block on the website of Etkin News Agency on the grounds of protection of national security and public safety. Thus, the agency's website was censored for the 43rd time.
An access block decree was also issued against the news regarding the access block on news about granting the Environment Agency Directorate, which was established under the auspices of Emine Erdoğan, the First Lady, the authority to issue tenders for eyeballs and bovies. Among the 24 news stories censored by the Istanbul Anatolian Second Criminal Judicature of Peace, there were also critical statements made by the Republican People Party's Deputy Chairman Veli Ağbaba about a first access block decree.
Cumhuriyet Daily columnist Barış Terkoğlu's column about Muhsin Kara, the winner of the World Call to Prayer contest, who had a photo taken with President Erdogan, and the news related to the subject were blocked by the Sivas Şarkışla Criminal Judicature of Peace on the grounds of violation of personal rights.
The news about the death of a patient at İzmir Medicana International Hospital was blocked by the Izmir 6th Criminal Court of Peace on the grounds of violation of personal rights and public incitement to hatred and enmity.
The documents of the claim that the Information Technologies Authority requested the data of all Internet users from service providers, which was first brought to the agenda by Republican People's Party Deputy Chairman Onursal Adıgüzel, has been published. It has been documented by Medyascope that the Information Technologies Authority has been monitoring the Internet activities of all users in Turkey for about a year and a half, that users were tagged together with their Internet activities, identity information, and personal data. According to the 15-page document dated December 15, 2020, the Information Technologies Authority requests Internet traffic records of all users to be sent hourly from the Internet service providers. The authority has access to the Internet usage information of all users, including mobile service providers, on a user-specific basis without the anonymization of the information. The document also contains a warning that Internet service providers who do not send the data to the Information Technologies Authority will be fined.
Kurdish politician and writer Mahmut Alınak converted the garage of his house in the Mavek village of Digor district of Kars into a school to teach Kurdish to the children in the village. Alınak stated, "I started this act of civil disobedience because the Kurds have been demanding education in their mother tongue for 100 years, but the state persistently and stubbornly pretends to be deaf." The state has not taken a single step towards education in Kurdish for more than a century. The duty of intellectuals is to prevent racist policies despite all prohibitions and states. Intellectuals have a historical duty to force the state to take a step, especially on such an important issue as education in the mother tongue. But if the state does not take a step and keeps a distance from rights and freedoms, then we will take action on our own.
Twitter has restricted access to the account of journalist Metin Cihan, who has been covering corruption in the companies belonging to the Justice and Development Party Istanbul Parliament member Nurettin Canikli for a while. Cihan stated that access to his account was restricted as a result of an organized spam attack due to his post on the Canikli file, and stated, "My Twitter account was suspended as a result of organized complaints about the post in which I exposed Nurettin Canikli's corruption and dirty relations. I want you to know that this will not stop me. On the contrary, I will research and share more."
Known with his close relations with the government, Türkiye Daily writer Cem Küçük targeted actress Birce Akalay, who reacted to the increase in the exchange rate from her social media account. Küçük stated, "People who have talked like that for the last 20 years were either imprisonment, escaped the country, or their careers were over."
The fourth hearing of the lawsuit filed against Onur Gencer, who carried out an armed attack against the People's Democratic Party Izmir provincial building and murdered Deniz Poyraz, was held at the Izmir 6 Assize Court. Killer Gencer did not answer the questions directed to him, instead turned to the lawyers and made a gesture that implies a throat cut. The hearing was adjourned to October 12th. On the other hand, before the hearing, a person attempted an armed attack against the participants in the Deniz Poyraz trial. The police did not intervene until the person who tried to enter the courthouse by saying, "I will kill all of you," came to the door of the courthouse. When the participants of the hearing reacted to the situation, the police intervened.
A lawsuit was filed against Sibel Bekiroğlu, a research assistant at the Department of Sociology, after she was suspended on June 14 without any justification by the rector, who was appointed as a trustee at Middle East Technical University. The next hearing of the case at the Ankara 22nd Assize Court, based on the statements of secret witnesses, was scheduled for December 8.
During the Munzur Book Days held with the initiative of Tunceli Municipality and Publishers Cooperative, the books Another Oil Lamp 40 years ago, 40 years later, by Tekin Publishing, and Kurdistan Freedom Movement from Rebellion to Build by Dipnot Publications were pulled off shelves and were collected by the police based on the ban decree issued against the books in 2017. The publishing houses were not notified of the ban decree issued against the books.
The police intervened in those who distributed leaflets about the Suruç massacre in Sultan Gazi district of Istanbul and detained 4 people.
The police intervened against the booth opened in the area where the Evvel July festival was held in the Samandağ district of Hatay on the grounds of the poster of İbrahim Kaypakkaya, one of the revolutionary youth leaders of the 68th generation. 24 people were detained.
No permission was given to investigate the Adana police chiefs, who heavily intervened against a press statement organized by Furkan Foundation members on March 20 before it even started. The prosecutor's request for an investigation against Security Branch Director Ali Abdullah Boytok on the charge of abuse of office was denied by Adana government.
A judicial process was initiated against 22 social media users on the grounds of social media posts about the murder of Dr. Ekrem Karakaya in the hospital where he was assigned.
A racist attack was carried out on the Haskell Jewish Cemetery in the Beyoğlu district of Istanbul on July 15, 2022, and 36 graves were destroyed as a result of the attack.
2 people speaking Circassian among themselves on the bus in Kayseri were exposed to a racist attack by someone who said, "This country is Turkish, the country of the Turks. Everything is Turkish, not Circassian. No second language is spoken in this country, be it Kurdish or Circassian. Whoever it is, this country is Turkish."
A Kurdish family in Denizli's Pamukkale district were subjected to a racist attack of people who said, "What are the Kurdish doing in this neighborhood? We will kill you." It was found out that the police detained 3 people from the family who were exposed to the attack, besides the 3 people who carried out the racist attack. Furthermore, the expression racist attack was not recorded in the police report.
Victory Party chairman Ümit Özdağ, who has recently come to the fore with his hateful statements against refugees and has frequently targeted minorities before, has once again targeted Armenians and the People's Democratic Party. Özdağ stated, "Most of the top executives of the People's Democratic Party are of Armenian origin. It is the enemy and should be treated as an enemy."
Bu haftalık da bizden bu kadar. Daha fazlası her zamanki gibi internet sitemizde. Yeniden görüşünceye değin, hoşça kalın.